Hello, viewers. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to CleverNet TV. CleverNet TV is created with a vision to connect you with the rest of the world and to the future growth of tourism and culture globally. I'm your host, Promise Ebuzeme, and with me today is a man called Mr. Cuthbert Ncube. Is the chairperson of African Tourism Board, and today we'll be talking about my mandate at the African Tourism Board. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us this night.
Thank you so much, Primrose. The pleasure is all mine. I'm actually excited, to be your host. And as I greet all your viewers across the globe, who have actually joined us in this great conversation.
Thank you so much, sir. So if you please don't mind, please kindly introduce yourself again, please.
Yes, well said. My name is Cuthbert Ncube, the Executive Chair of the African Tourism Board, which is a vehicle of connecting the dots and of joining the global community, the continental community, in terms of tourism as a catalyst to drive our economic growth and to bring us together as one big and happy family.
Thank you so much. So, can you tell us about African tourism? Because the topic is about your mandate as the African Tourism Board. So, tell us more about African Tourism Board and the vision behind it.
Thank you so much. The African Tourism Board stands as a vehicle and the voice in narrating the continent's position and opportunities that prevail in our beautiful continent. Our vision, it's where Africa becomes one tourism destination of choice in the world, both when we talk of investment and tourist traffic flow within the continent. Our push, by the way, in attaining responsible and sustainable socio-economic development in the African continent through travel and tourism in cooperation with the public and the private sector, facilitating and supporting individual and collective efforts through the development of policies, white papers, and strategies for tourism growth and development, effective international marketing, brand marketing our continent, and also promoting investments in tourism. Our primary objective is to facilitate and encourage, coordinate, and assist in the development of sustainable tourism throughout the continent, taking dual consideration of the overall development of the people of this great continent and the continent's natural and cultural resources. We are working with the African Union, who is our primary strategic partner, governments from various member states, the private sector, communities, stakeholders in promoting and facilitating tourism growth and tourism development across the continent and beyond. That is our objectives as African Tourism Board, to say, let's get together, let's synergize, let's put our efforts together in our objective to really promote tourism within the global space. That's what the African Tourism Board is mandated to do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. To be honest, you've touched a lot of interesting points already, and I'm so interested, and I'm sure a lot of viewers are interested to find out, because we're in Africa, whereby people find it difficult to travel to see this beauty that we have in Africa, to see this tourist attraction which we have in Africa, which we have a lot. So, and we know Black people, they find it difficult to spend their phone, to spend this money to travel. So how do you, as the board member, achieve this objective, which this vision you've stated? How do you achieve them, knowing that Black people don't want to explore?
Well, that's why our emphasis is to say, how do we start appreciating our domestic tourism, promoting tourism within our borders, promoting tourism within our regional borders, promoting tourism within the continent itself. We are saying we need to reshape the tourism, which was, by the way, structured, for a particular segment of our global societies. So now we are saying, let us have an inclusive approach. Hence, we are saying, as much as we have come out of the COVID, the pandemic, that has brought our tourism sector to its knees, but it has afforded us to start talking to one another. It has afforded us to look within to say, wow, as much as the international communities have closed their borders, what then do we do? Do we have to wait until they open their borders? No, we need now to start positioning ourselves, making sure that we promote our domestic tourism. We emphasize that we need to enjoy. By the way, normally the old saying that says charity begins at home. You need to convert your local populace, your domestic populace, to be brand ambassadors so that they'll be able to represent your destination, represent your nation, represent your country. So that was our priority number one. And we are so glad that there is quite a lot of discussions among us, our member states, ministers of tourism, and other stakeholders as well, to say, how do we make and create a seamless flow of our domestic populace? How do we make it easy for me to travel to Kenya, to travel to Tanzania, to travel to Rwanda? And though we still have challenges in terms of connectivity, but we are getting there. We are so excited that we have actually created so much positive inroads that has made our ministers to come together around the table and start discussing. We just had an experience a few weeks ago where we actually joined ourselves with the diaspora and our brothers and sisters in Jamaica to say Caribbeans, they're yearning, they're longing to come back to their roots. Those are our Black Americans who are so excited to be coming back home. Yes, Blacks, communities, and our young people, bearing in mind that the populace of our continent, it's almost 60-70% are young blood who are so fascinated, to explore and start enjoying themselves within the borders of our continent. We are so excited. We are making very good inroads.
That's lovely. I'm glad to hear. Thank you so much for answering the question, sir. The next question: how does one become a member, and what does it take to be a member?
Well, we are an affiliate-driven organization where we encourage the participation from across. By the way, African Tourism Board, our reach, we go beyond the continent. Hence now, most of our members, they are abroad. They are in Europe. They are in Asia, right? Complementing what we have, our members in Africa. So yes, we are an affiliate-driven organization where we encourage our members to join this great movement, this great initiative that drives and brings us together as a big family in promoting our destination, in promoting our diversity as well as the African populace. You go to our website, www.africantourismboard.africa, and then it will lead you where you are able to actually register as a member of the African Tourism Board, and you are afforded an opportunity as well to participate in terms of networking. We have a broader network that actually cuts across the continent of Africa.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question: could you please enumerate the social impact of tourism, please?
Yes, we always discern and think that tourism is a spinning wheel in generating, revenue and injecting foreign exchange. Yes, ultimately, that's the ultimate goal, which is, of course, our primary objective as destinations. We look on how do we generate revenue. We look at how do we earn our foreign exchange, but we need to realize the non-economic and tangible spin-offs and effects of this powerful and most effective tool towards our social and cultural behaviors. Social and cultural impacts of tourism are the ways in which tourism is immensely contributing to changes in value systems, individual behaviors, family relationships, collective lifestyles, and moral conduct, creating expressions. In other words, there are the effects on the people of host communities of their direct and indirect association with our tourists. So the positive and the negative impacts to the host societies and also impacts to the tourists as well. It brings us together. It awakens, and we start appreciating. When one comes, appreciate my culture. It contributes towards our social cohesive. So tourism has so much to offer, both to the tourists and also to the communities that our tourists visit. Just now we attended the World Tourism Market, a week ago in Cape Town, where we had visitors as far as Jamaica. We had our minister from Sierra Leone and ministers from Kenya, Botswana, who came together. And as we observed the diversity in our culture, it's something that really gives a sense of fulfillment and a sense of joy to those who are actually contributing in entertaining, and also to the tourists at large. So there are quite a lot of good social impacts, especially when it comes to tourism.
Thank you so much, sir. It's really good to see African tourism really thrive so hard. And with people like you, I'm sure African tourism will definitely go to the top. Thank you so much. The next question: would you say there is business profitability in the sector? If yes, how can entrepreneurs harness it?
Yes, we have always said tourism sector is recognized as one of the most profitable, the most productive and intensively developing sectors of the world economy. Many countries see and appreciate tourism as an important and integral part of the economic development. We have countries like Seychelles in Africa who rely, their GDP is contributed through tourism. You've got Zanzibar just across on the other side who rely on tourism. Tourism plays a very pivotal role in our lives. By the way, tourism also enhances our destination's image as an overall economic development. And I believe that African countries present a tremendous outlook to become or remain vibrant hosts for tourism, investors, and also entrepreneurs. Tourism is a multiplier, or has a multiplier effect across the sectors, such as accommodation, such as food services, agriculture, retail, transport, etc. These are some viable value chains that feed into the tourism mainstream, and these sectors are major drivers of economic growth and engines of job creation and sustainability of the tourism sector, which, by the way, has become the largest and fastest growing economic sector globally when we look at the overall. And this is a sector that, by the way, accounts for more than 334 million jobs worldwide, directly and indirectly accounting to 10.6% of the global employment. And in harnessing the sector, we need to look at the future work in tourism. We need to keep examining key mega trends and drivers that are impacting the sector, it's enterprises, it's workers. When you talk of tourism, you're talking of people, you're talking of individuals, you're talking of participants. And that should also include, by the way, our globalization, digitization. Things are now changing, and technological advances as well. Demographic changes and climate change, they all affect our tourism sector. So tourism is one of the profitable. And by the way, when we talk of tourism, we're talking of other sectors that feeds within the chain of tourism. Talk about agriculture, you talk about transport. There is no tourism without transport, because it's all about connectivity. There is no tourism without agriculture. There is no tourism without retail, outlets, because they all feed in the tourism sector. It's one of the greatest where we need really to start to harness, where we need to start appreciating, where we need to join hands together to say, how do we build this great monument vehicle, which is our catalyst towards our economic growth and our sustainability as well.
Thank you so much. You spoke about how tourism, how there has to be transportation in tourism, which that generates profits in to the transportation, which it generates also profits to agriculture and so on. So do you see any future collaboration between Africa and the rest of the world?
Oh, yes. By the way, Africa is not an isolated island somewhere in the space. We are still on this planet Earth. We then form part of the global community. So we need, that's why our emphasis as well as African Tourism Board, we are not only looking and focusing within the African continent perspective point of view, but we are saying, how do we make the ground level? How do we start bringing these 7 continents together to appreciate one another? When you look at our traffic flow, before COVID-19, almost 95%, those were international contributors towards the GDP of the African continent. And these came from other continents, somewhere there, Europe, Asia, Latin America. So Africa, we are saying we need to join hands together so that we can then, it has to be a reciprocal. We had quite a number of our African brothers and sisters who every now and again they are in Dubai, they are seen in Dubai and all those other places enjoying themselves. So it's all about coming together. It's all about breaking the stereotype mentality that has been perpetuated for quite a long time to say, by the way, tourism joins us together. Where there is commotion, tourism cements good relationships. Where there is hunger, tourism plays a pivotal role to say, how do we start assisting, how do we start joining hands together so that we are able to live as one big happy family. We want to position Africa within the global space to say it's one of the powerhouse of this global village that should play a very important role for our progress and sustainability in terms of our beautiful sector.
I'm sure so many audience and I myself agree with you about saying, if we say Africa has so many beautiful tourist attraction, which the rest of the world have not seen yet, and they need to see this. So it's beautiful the work you're doing. Um, that's that drives me to my next question. How well has the African Board, Tourism Board positioned itself in Africa and the rest of the world?
Yes, as I've indicated that we're currently working with a number of member states, and we are so glad that even in our advisory board, we do have ministers who sit in our advisory board to say, if there was a time where we need really to walk hand in hand, glove in glove, glove in hand, yes, within the continent. It is now where we need to start to appreciate this. I totally allude with yourself to say, look, Africa has so much to offer, and we haven't explored 75% of what we have, both in terms of flora, both in terms of resources, and both in terms of land, so much in terms of agriculture. So we promoting Africa to say there is so much to offer, and Africa is waiting. That's why most of after COVID-19, each and every head of states was saying, "Look, world, we are now open for business. We want you to come and explore. We want you to come and invest. We want you to come and work with us and make sure that we benefit." And that plea, of course, has been expanded to our brothers and sisters in diaspora. That is why we are saying the Jamaicans, they must come back home, identify opportunities that should actually be explored. So yes, Africa is positioning itself, and if you don't join the wagon now, you'll be left behind. So many opportunities, so much to do, and so much to explore across the 55 member states. That's a powerhouse of the world. In the next decades, we are envisaging that Africa should actually come out strong as one of the big brothers of this global community.
Thank you so much, sir. Viewers, we've heard so much from Mr. Ncube. He has spoken so much about not just the African board, but about how tourism is important and it's beautiful and it's profitable to Africa. Um, like he said, if you don't join the wagon now, you'll be left behind. So stay tuned because there is many more to come from Mr. Okumbe. See you soon. We're just going for a quick break. We'll be right back.
Clevenard in Diaspora Television is an internet online TV service. What sets us apart is a unique combination of hit African content, first and exclusive international free movies, series, musics, news, events, documentaries, tourism, teleshopping shows, youth TV programs, and live interviews. Clevenard Diaspora Television is available throughout sub-Saharan Africa and to the diaspora markets worldwide. Take your entertainment with you wherever you go. Watch on your smartphone, tablet, laptop, smart TV, depending on your device. Watch free movies with Clevenard Movies Television. Stop searching for free movies websites and watch Clevenard Movies Television. Watch your favorite African shows anywhere at any time. Don't forget to check out our top 5 TV channels created to get you informed. TV1, Clevenard in Diaspora Television. TV2, Clevenard Youth Television. TV3, Clevenard Movies Television. TV4, Clevenard Teleshopping Television. TV5, Clevenard Tourism Television. To start watching, sign up at www.clevenard.com and follow the easy steps. Once you're done, log into the Clevenard website or app on your device, click on any one of our 5 TV channels, and hit play. We will be very satisfied and happy to welcome you to our team as one of our new business partners. Contact info@clevenard.com +34 631 279811. Website www.clevenard.com.
Hi viewers, welcome back to Clevernet TV. Clevernet TV. Here with me is Mr. Ncube. We've been speaking so much about the African Tourism Board. I'm sure, like you said earlier on before I even left, I said, if you don't join the wagon now, you'll be left behind. So I suggest you share the link and get people to join this because this is an interesting discussion about the African tourism. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this night again.
Thank
So the next question is there hope in the future growth of tourism in the African continent?
Wow. Is there hope in the future growth of tourism in the African continent with its diversity? I believe with all my heart that Africa is a vast continent with the most diverse countries in the world, with lush islands, forests, and picture square of beauty. Statistics actually have shown that the continent has been the growing tourist attraction in its 55 member states, with each country offering a unique offering from tradition to our culture to our natural wonders that always draw attractions from all over the world for our tourists looking to experience their own piece of Africa. From the pyramids of Egypt to exotic beaches in warm oceans of Tanzania, of Seychelles, the Okavango Delta, one of the most breathtaking places on earth, which is one of the top tourist destinations in the continent in Africa, the Congo and neighboring Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Oh, by the way, we'll be celebrating the Pearl of Africa in the few weeks' time in Uganda, the famous of its mountain gorillas, and the Virungu National Park, perhaps the best place in the world where these impressive creatures can be seen. Rwanda, the land of 1,000 hills and 1,000,000 smiles. I always exaggerate, 1,000,000 smiles, with its natural exotic vegetations. The mighty Victoria Falls, one of the wonders of the world, shared by two countries, Zambia and Zimbabwe. Look, the list goes on and on and on. And tourism, by the way, is one of the key factors in drawing economic recovery with its transformative tools within its takeoffs. So, is a continent needs to broaden robustly in capitalizing tourism as an economic development tool for all our member states. There is so much hope and anticipating in this beautiful contents. We haven't started, as I indicated, that we have only explored about 75% of our offerings in Africa within the 55 member states. So we haven't. So we have only achieved to enjoy the what, the 30% or so. So there is so much to explore in Africa, and there's so much to build. That's why our emphasis is a united front, so that when we sell our destination, when we tell our beautiful story, to say, here we are, this is what you can explore in this beautiful content. There is so much to do. There is so much that is really in our disposal, where we are saying there is so much growth in terms of tourism. And I believe that statistically, if we look at the numbers after the COVID-19, Africa, we are on a recovery spin, and we are accelerating our growth in terms of tourism destination and also in terms of tourism investment in this beautiful continent. Hence, we are saying we are joining hands with our Caribbean brothers and sisters. We are joining hands with our diaspora, and we are joining hands with other continents to say, let's move together. Let us shift the way we used to operate our tourism sector. Let's have an inclusive approach that will bring all stakeholders together with one objective, to say, how do we move together as a global community and also together as a continent.
Thank you so much, sir. You've spoken so much about the beautiful tourism sites which we have in Africa, like the Zanzibar River, the Victoria Falls, the Kilimanjaro, and so on. So, my next question is: as Africa, benefited in its share value in continental context of its offerings?
Yes, as I'm actually saddened as I sit here within the African Tourism Board. Well, it is interesting as well to note that the continent has utilized only 30% of its domestic value product, as we haven't appreciated much of our domestic sustainability. The potential for tourism growth in the continent is so much significant. Look, Africa, with its abundant assets, with expansive beaches, beautiful wildlife, extensive natural and cultural attractions, and adventure opportunities. We need a paradigm shift in reshaping and creating sustenance within the tourism space in Africa. They are adopting three pillars of successful tourism, which we always mitigate to appreciate those three pillars of success that will encompass the economic factor, that will encompass the environmental sectors, that will encompass social sustainability and financial factors that talks directly to our populace, which is fundamental. How do we translate tourism for the benefit of our domestic populace with so much at our disposal, yet so little enjoyment to those who are custodians and supposedly beneficiaries of our natural resources? We need to sustain and deepen tourism success as we grow strategies to disperse and look within our domestic and community-based tourism. We need to accelerate an inclusive approach in our drive to energize continental economies, and totalism will surely fuel the economic transformation in Africa, and thereby spreading the immense range of benefits that will improve the livelihood of our communities. That will surely assist us in starting to appreciate and making sure that Africa benefits from the natural resources and its potential in the tourism space. Yes, we need to prioritize and make sure that we benefit from our resources and grow and sustain our tourism sector.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question. Much has been spoken about intra-Africa free trade area as the continent from intra-Africa free trade initiative in its pursuance to its economic inclusive approach.
Yeah, as I indicated that the pandemic setbacks has really provided all stakeholders from the government, business, and the tourism sector to start rethinking and acting differently in relation to the economic downturn inspired by the challenges within the sector. Consequently, the opening up of more intra-Africa trade, I mean, the establishment of trade relations and economic development on the continent augur well for business and travel events. Therefore, I believe that the continent needs to establish an enabling environment, very fundamental for business to develop through collaborative policy imperatives. Emphasis must be placed on the strategic focus on ensuring that collaborations become the key entrenched in the industry as the business economic sector continues to adopt to the realities and also adopting to the opportunities that should be pursued in the areas of partnerships. It's all about partnerships. If there was a time where we really need to have an inclusive approach in our dealings, in our thoughts, that will enhance the intra-Africa trade. So we need to make sure that there is a close collaborations that should be shared value propositions and closer alliances, which is proposed, may well enable business recovery on the African continent, not only adopt but become more resilient post-COVID-19. As we activate our tourism economies in line with rethinking the African tourism, may I passionately appeal to the key stakeholders to note the importance of member states to work in a more integrated, more cohesive way. By this, by the way, we can achieve quite a lot. We're looking at policies that needs to be, adjusted so that it enhances our economic growth, especially in this beautiful continent. So the need for us to work together in different ways, such as efforts to address trade and travel obstacles. We say Africa is open for business, but still a nightmare to travel from one member state to another member state. So the integration among African continents would enable the tourism economic sector to operate in a better way, whereby our member states come together as a bloc and assess the trends and impacts of the setbacks, and thereby to develop, collect, and recovery models that will then interpret the recovery emergencies that will form the best pillars of mitigating the economic impact of this unit. We need to make sure that there is a seamless exercise if one needs to travel. For example, I am supposed to be traveling to the PL of Africa. I need to be getting a visa. It's a nightmare. I have tried to do it online. It's just something else. So we need to make sure that our policymakers, they need to come on board, both public and private sector, join hands together so that we make our tourism accessible to our own brothers in Africa. We need to really create synergies amongst ourselves so that we drive the economic factor within our tourism space.
Thank you so much, sir. I was about to ask a question, but you've answered it already. So thank you so much for that. In conclusion, this is the last question. What is your appeal to all strategic stakeholders in tourism space?
Primrose, in the context of reshaping and rebranding marketing, the thought of the African tourism industry, may I emphasize the need for coordination among countries, member states, especially on how the business, events, and tourism sector is to be accelerated is very critical. The pandemic has presented opportunities, of reflection on what can be done successfully by countries in Africa to ensure that there is regional, there is continental sustainability, growth in the tourism sector. The evidence suggests that our member states on the continent, they are so fragmented in their approach, and they are missing out on a number of great opportunities that they could harness by adopting a coordinated strategy as we encourage adoption of bilateral agreements to ensure that countries work on a well-coordinated approach to business events and tourism sector growth and, of course, its expansion. And by the way, people travel through different countries. We travel. Tourism is all about traveling. Tourism is all about meeting people. Tourism is all about sharing your smile. But the lack of connectivity, which is a nightmare, the visa regimes are causing the continent so much to sacrifice the vast socio-economic benefits and growth opportunities that tourism may bring to a destination, may bring to a country, may bring to a continent. Honestly, the continent's tourism sector is perhaps the sector with the most potential to grow globally and can be sustainable be increased when there is effective coordination. I think I have mentioned coordination more than 5 times in our presentation interview, and deliberation across regional destinations. It has to cut across. It is therefore critical importance that we enable a viable environment by removing some of the stumbling blocks, the barriers that have and are still an hindrance in achieving even the agenda goals in line with the African unity. We know that the AU has presented the 2063 agenda items that needs to be actually appreciated by each and every member state. We have been victims of our own making by inheriting and marrying policies and regulations that have kept us as the backdrop right behind the rest of the continents of the world. That is really a shame for Africa. Yet we have so much in our continent that can maintain and sustain our generation and the generations to come. If there was a time for us to come together in unity with one objective, to create a conducive environment for our populace, for our people, for our continent, for our regions, it is now. We are so much proud with the East African Bloc who have come together and say, how best can we really look? It's time to take action. We've been talking. COVID, afforded us time to sit on virtual meetings 24/7, talking and discussing on mechanisms of how do we recover our sector. Now is the time for us to be proactive. Let us take action. The onus is up to you. The onus is up to me. The onus is up to each and every individual, each and every citizen of this great continent, to say, how do we join together? How do we bring our young people who are so, with their intellectual, how do we move together so that we have a progressive economy in this beautiful continent? This is the time. This is my appeal. Let's join hands together. Let's break the barriers that have separated us as the tourism boards, barriers that have separated us as member states, as ministers, as including all the value chain that feeds within the mainstream of tourism. Let us talk with one voice, progressive minds. Let's talk with one voice. How do we shape our continent, our destination? How do we narrate? How do we tell our beautiful story in Africa? To say we are here with open hands to receive our tourists. We are here with open hands to receive our investors, to receive our entrepreneurs who are looking for expansion in their businesses, who are looking beyond their borders. It is now. Africa, rise. Africa, it's your time. Africa, it is my time. Let's move and let's walk together.
Thank you so much, sir. Viewers, I'm sure you've heard so much from Mr. Ncube. He has said it. Africa, let's work together. Just in case you don't know anything about, there are a lot of people that don't know about tourism. Mr. Ncube has told us so much about tourism, how rich our African sites are, and how profitable it can be to us. So let's embrace our culture, embrace our tourism, and let's explore it and make it more profitable for us. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We really appreciate you for coming on CleverNet TV. I don't know if you have any other things to say.
Pleasure is all mine. All flights are leading to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, celebrating the 2023 Pearl of Africa Summit. I will see you there.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, viewers, for joining us this night. Have a good night and bye.
Thank you. Bye.